Hello and welcome in again to another episode of Rolling with My Special Friends. Today, we've got a special treat in with us today. Brent and Kyle Pease are triathletes, I guess, in a marathons. They've also the founders of the Kyle Pease Foundation. I mean, there's a list of honors and things that they've been through so long that it'd take me a week to read all this stuff to you. These guys have run hundreds of races together. So I want you to be able to sit down today and just enjoy what we're about to hear, because these two guys have been so inspirational for people all over the country that we just had to have them on the show and find out how this story got started and where it's at and where it's headed, because I know there's big things in the future too that I hear that's upcoming. So Brent and Kyle, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, Jim. How are you?
Oh, doing just fine. Now we're going to kick this thing off as we love on our podcast, so we just jump right into the meat of things and not kind of beat around the bush. Tell me, Kyle, exactly what it's like to have a brother like Brent.
Brent is one of the best guys I know. Brent has really allowed me to become a better man. He has shown me a thing of becoming an athlete and how that has become a reality. He's just an all-out great guy, and I love doing life with him.
Now let's flip that on the other side and tell me, Brent, how's it the other way around?
I think the way I've always felt is that, what Kyle goes through or anybody with a disability that, experienced it at birth or later in life, it has an effect on those around you or those closest to you. And so, my earliest memories of Kyle were, of him learning and experiencing his disability. And for me, that felt like this tragic experience. And so I spent, most of my youth, probably until around college, wanting to help and wanting to fix things. And as we've grown together, what I realized is Kyle was always trying to do the same for me. He wanted to make my life better and wanted to make my life easier. And so my life is better, infinitely so, for having Kyle as a brother, for allowing to continue to experience life together. We're at a stage in life where a lot of people aren't able to be this close and be this connected. And so I'm just incredibly fortunate to continue to share all these experiences with my brother and just have a wonderful friend.
Well, and that is actually, to me, very inspiring to know, the love that's out there between you two guys and how this foundation got started to be able to inspire other people for what you guys have been growing up in, your whole life. Now, kind of to put the listeners into that area, tell us, some of what you just touched on there of growing up with Kyle. What was it like to be, to see him come along in the early stages when he was just a little kid?
Well, I'll tell you a memory that stands out, and hopefully I don't embarrass Kyle with this, but, before there was cell phones and before there was pagers, kids were finding ways to kind of have their own little privacy. And Kyle had this 1-800 number that his friends could call. And I remember, he's going to laugh about it, but it for me, it was different. For Kyle, it's funny to think back on it, but you remember it now. I didn't mean to make him giggle. He was giggling before we got started, but no, I mean, I remember distinctly a couple occasions, walking down the hall and hearing Kyle check and his voicemail would be at 0. And that just always broke my heart. And who knows, Kyle could have had messages all the time, just the times that I heard him. But that was what I always felt about Kyle's experience growing up, that as many people that loved him and that were surrounded around him, when it was time to, call and talk to their friend or take Kyle out for a hamburger or to a party or anything, there weren't a lot of people that were willing to step up and do that. And, so I always tried to, and I always tried to be part of that experience with Kyle, taking him to field trips at school, coming to birthday parties with them, inviting him to my parties, and trying to help him feel included. And I think that has spilled into, I know we'll get into it later, but that's spilled into what Kyle and I do now, which is finding ways to include people with disabilities in everything that we do.
Now, that's just amazing that you guys have developed that bond and had this thing so strong from the start. And I understand exactly where you're coming from, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that inspiration that you're giving, as far as the, wanting somebody within their life and hoping to get that phone call, and you guys are providing it. And to kind of jump us into that area just a little bit, tell me about, doing these races that you guys are doing. What inspired you? Did Kyle just come out and say, "Hey, I want to go do a race," or what led us into the athletic side of being brothers?
Yeah, so after Brent graduated from college, he found running as a hobby, and he started with the 5K. It built all the way up to an Ironman. And his first Ironman, he invited the whole family to go. Uh, so we went up to Louisville, Kentucky in 2010. And it really, I was amazed not only by Brett's amazing ability, but all the other athletes that day. It was close to 95 degrees in Louisville. And what I saw that day was my life, because you go through so many ups and downs and so many trials, and you just fight through the adversity. And that's what I do every day in my life. So when Brett got done with the Ironman, we sat down and I asked to get people wheelchair do Ironman. And that's really how the journey all got started, with that one question that I asked.
Wow. Now, so when that question was asked, Brent, what were your thoughts that went through your head? What were you thinking?
Well, the first was that I was exhausted, having just completed my first Ironman, and I was probably willing to say anything to get Kyle to leave me alone. He was peppering me with questions, but I mean, it was the immediate reaction was yes, because it's everything we just started describing. It was, if Kyle wants to be an athlete, then we're going to make sure that this happens. And we didn't know how we were going to do it. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we just knew we were going to do it. And so there was, from that moment, there was never any thought of turning back. And, looking back on it, that couldn't have played out any better than it did.
Now, for people out there listening, kind of fill me in. I know a little bit about the athletic world and different sports and things. Did this add, I know obviously you being a triathlete, Ironman, all those type competitions, did this cause you to have to ramp up your training to get to there? Do you train any harder because you got an extra person there with you?
Well, yes, the short answer is yes, but it's a lot of it is just doing some added strength work. I do a lot of over distance training, and that's just what I've been doing since we started this together. So it was more hyper focused and more hyper vigilant about it. I'll still never forget the first year we were training for a race. I was supposed to do a 90-minute run, and I've got a coach, and I finished my loop 5 minutes early. And so I had finished in 85 minutes. And so I turned off my watch and I went inside my house, and then the coach can see, we interact online. And I just said, "Hey, I mistimed the route. I was 5 minutes short." And he just responded to me very clearly, "This isn't about just you anymore. You finished the workout." And that was it. And to this day, I don't think I've ever cut a workout short again, because it wasn't 85 minutes that was needed. It was 90 minutes that I needed to make sure I got ready to be able to push Kyle for hours on end. So I would just say hyper focused, and then adding in over distance work, meaning I'm going to go further than what the distance of the actual event is, because of the amount of time it takes for Kyle to compete in these events.
Okay, now, Kyle, I'm going to ask you the same question. Is there anything that you're going into a race with, brother, like you said, out there in that 95-degree heat? If I'm going to join in that, or me and my brother in a different part of the country going to do it, how do I get ready? How does Kyle get ready?
Oh, that's a great question, Jim. What I do, I focus on my nutrition, because I don't like to drink water, because when I'm by myself, if I have to use the restroom, I don't have anybody around. So, but for races, I definitely ramp up my nutrition, make sure I get plenty of sleep, and then make sure that my attention is solely on and not with the focus on what I'm doing, but making sure that Brent stays positive and keep him engaged.
I got you. Okay, now, and you said you focus on nutrition. Give us some ideas of people out there listening. What kind of nutrition are we eating?
Yeah, not the crap you're eating right now. Tell them the stuff that you eat when you're actually training hard.
No, like, um, baked chicken and fish, and steamed vegetables, a lot of water, a lot of smoothies.
I mean, Kyle and I's diet looks very similar when we're both training. It's whole, real foods, not a lot of processed foods. It's a lot of fluids, a lot of water. And the big difference is that Kyle might eat 1,500, 2,000 calories a day, and I'm eating 3,000, 4,000 calories a day. Right. So the needs of our body are a little bit different. And, Kyle touched on it a little bit too. I just want to kind of highlight kind of energy that Kyle has to expend to be the positive force. And these Ironmans take us 14, 15, 16 hours to complete. And just imagine having to stay positive, not only for yourself, but for your teammate, for your brother, so that you can stay engaged. Because it's a lot of work to get two human beings to cover that distance.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, that for people out there listening, that's got to be one of the most amazing things, knowing two athletes that can not only have to go through what you guys are going through, but just two athletes, period, competing for 14, 15 hours. That's a major accomplishment in itself. And like I said, I'm inspired, just hearing the story of what you guys go through to train to get to that moment, and then actually to overcome the moment and show other people what you can do, when you put your mind to something. Now, when we tie that together and you two guys going out and doing some of these races, kind of put us out here listening into that world. Where do we go? Like, are you guys just racing just in Atlanta, or tell us about the race world? Where do you go to compete?
We predominantly compete here in the Southeast, largely in Georgia, but we've competed all around the United States. We haven't made it. Kyle keeps threatening to do something international. We haven't done that yet, but when we've gone as far as Hawaii. Haven't made it to Alaska yet, but we've raced coast to coast. We take families with us. We've taken a group to Utah, to Washington, D.C. We've taken athletes to California, to Florida. So it's just really where the opportunities are and the ways that we can do it through the foundation, or excuse me, with the foundation and with all those athletes. So it's almost damn near a global affair.
Well, and that's kind of brings me to another point that I want to bring up. You guys had told me about a story that you received a text one time, about another family saying that, you involved them in that. Can you tell us about that story?
Yeah. So go ahead, Kyle.
So we were in Hawaii getting ready for the World Championships. One of our athletes tested and said that we were in the World Championships, we're all in the World Championships. And, that really didn't hit home until after we completed the race and you thought about what we were doing, because when you're in the moment, all I was concerned about was me and Brent. But when you take a step back and you realize the magnitude of what we did and how we brought everybody along, even though they weren't there physically, we were representing our family, but on a larger scale, we were representing the Kyle Pease Foundation and showing the world and our local community what was possible.
Yeah, that's amazing that you guys have had that reach. I can say it just listening to the story that you've had the reach, basically sounds like worldwide, that are people out there being able to see you do what you do. Now, here's a question for you, Brent, or Kyle, either one which would answer. Our next race that we're going to have, is there a way for you to bring us into that thing virtually? Can you ride a camera along on the bike with us?
You know what? We can on April 23rd. So one of our athletes is a young woman named Bentley Grace. Her and her partner actually hold the Guinness World Record for one of the fastest marathons ever run, official. I mean, but she's hosting a race on April 23rd. They always go on Facebook Live. They always bring GoPros. So we will absolutely make sure that you guys have the links to that footage for that event.
That would be wonderful. I would love to be there at, obviously, because we can all travel and follow you. So we would love to be there at that race, virtually, and be able to see it happening. All right, so let's jump. We've already touched on it a bunch of times. Let's just jump right off in it. Brent, tell us what the foundation is all about, why it was set up. What are we doing with it?
So when we first started, when Kyle asked that question about can people in wheelchairs do Ironman, that set off a personal journey that Kyle and I were going to go do a race together. And the very first race we did was a local 10K to support leukemia and lymphoma cancers, bloodborne cancers. And Kyle and I had a blast. We'd never done sports like that together. We'd never experienced it together. And almost instantly after, Kyle said, I want other people to experience this with us. And that was it. It was the same thing as Kyle asking that question about doing races, to be able to say, we got to have other people do it. And in June of 2011, after we had just finished our second race ever together, the Kyle Pease Foundation was born with a mission to improve the lives of people with disabilities through sports. And we are just constantly seeking out opportunities of inclusion for people like Kyle to compete. When you see Kyle or Bentley Grace or any of the other athletes, and they've got their Oakleys on, and Kyle's got his fresh shave on his head, they look like athletes. And when you watch them compete, they are. So it's a really special thing that we've created, but credit to Kyle for recognizing the opportunity and realizing that this wasn't just for him, that this was for everybody.
Now, Kyle, tell me about your part in the foundation here. What does it make you feel like to know, your foundation is helping so many people?
It's an amazing feeling. It's a feeling that I really can't express to you. It's another family that we have, and they are looking to us for good energy and making sure that we provide them a great experience at a race. But more so that when we get to know the athletes, and we get to know their families and hear their stories, that's what touches me the most. Yes, we have a mission. Yes, we rely on very generous donors to support KPF, but my personal mission is when an athlete comes to a race, I want them to forget about their challenges. Because some of these athletes and families that we serve, they have pretty heavy challenges, including myself. But I want them to enjoy it. And like Brent said, for them to get to be the athlete and forget about their circumstances just for a couple hours. And for the mom or dad or the relative, they get to be that soccer parent that they never have become before, because they're always invested in their child, making sure that, everything is set up perfectly, making sure that their bathrooms are taken care of, So for them to pass out the oranges and them to see it from the other side on the ropes is very special. And that will never get old.
No, that's amazing to me, because it sounds like you've definitely thought your way through it to how to, involve everybody. And you guys have both used the right word to me, as family. I think this foundation is a family. Y'all have got a bunch of people that you're inspiring, and at the same time, sounds like they're inspiring you to, show you guys what they can do every day.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you would have asked me, Brett, that we are giving something, but we receive more by our families, and their gifts that they give us. So it's amazing.
All right, so Brent, let's jump over there, and I'm seeing through your guys' foundation, every single year, it looks like since the invention of this thing, you've sponsored more and more and more athletes. You've went up to 8 to 42 to 50 to now 60 something athletes per race. How does the foundation, to give people that are out there listening, how does that foundation sponsor 60 something athletes for a race?
So the foundation owns and maintains 50 wheelchairs. We've got 7 bikes and 7 boats and partridge in a pear tree sitting up there at our warehouse. And, so that was something that Kyle wanted to do. He wanted to be able to make sure to support, because, for a lot of people with disabilities, the burden of care, the burden of just everyday living expenses is so great that we didn't want to have to add one more thing, especially because most of these races don't start at 2 p.m. They start at 7 a.m, which means for somebody like Kyle, you're getting up at 3:30, 4 a.m. So for a lot of these big races, we provide everything. We cover the race fees, we cover hotels and dinners and things that you don't think about, and they're part of the experience too. But we have all the equipment and the training necessary to help these families and athletes and their volunteers get ready for these big events. And it's just it's the snowball down the hill effect. It's just continued to gain momentum and size and speed as we've gone about everything the last 10 years.
Well, now tell me too, so we can touch on it. We'll actually do this a couple times during the podcast. Tell everybody the website out there, how to get to you. How do you spell it out?
It's kylepeasefoundation.org. So that's KYLE and then PEASE foundation.org, kylepeasefoundation.org. And that's got everything. It's got social links, videos, photos, event calendar, everything you could possibly want to see is all right there.
And if you are so compelled, there's a donate button up there that will bring you to our donation page. You can donate with 3 clicks or less.
Gotcha. That's what I was just about to ask. So if we want to have people that are listening and want to reach out to you to have a conversation or to donate, the website is the best place to do that.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, and I think you said all the social links are on there too. Are you guys the Facebook, Twitters, all that type stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're a lot cooler on social than we are.
And I know there's a bunch of people out there listening as well that know about you guys having a book, but for those that don't know it, how do we get a copy of this book to be able to read about you two?
So Amazon is the best place to get the book, although if you want a signed copy, you can get that through our website. But on Amazon, it certainly helps just the organic growth as well. And of course, if you get one, please make sure to leave a review. But our book Beyond the Finish is on both Amazon as well as our website.
Now, to give us a quick little touch on that to kind of inspire somebody to want to go grab that thing, Brent, what is something key in there? What give us the quick version of the book?
Well, what's special about the book for us is that it was really a collaboration. We had somebody who knew how to write books, help us kind of understand the process and help us put it together, including helping Kyle write his portions. But also our entire family was part of it. So my wife's got a piece, our brother, we've got another brother in New York. He's got a piece, both of our parents do. And it's just really wonderful to hear the perspective. So it's got everything from, Kyle growing up, all the way through the Ironman in Hawaii, which was really the crowning achievement for us at that time. And it's just got a little bit of everything. I mean, if there's, something that you think is holding you back, when you read about Kyle's life and his accomplishments, it's really hard not to want to get up and go push yourself further than you thought possible. And as a parent, to understand the compassion and care that our parents had and the way they give Kyle a full life, there's just something in there for everybody. And I think that was a really special experience for us.
All right. Now, and also I like to step out of bounds a little bit on these things. And I want to give both of you guys an opportunity to fill us in and give us something that everybody don't get to hear every day. I know you guys are great athletes and you do all this special training, you're writing books, you're doing all this stuff. But I want to know, and our listeners out there want to know a funny story about each of you that we've never heard before to kind of get us into the real everyday life when the lights go off and nobody's looking. Tell me, Brent, something funny that's happened between you and Kyle.
Well, this is a little bit of this is in the book as well, but when you grow up with three boys, flatulence is a pretty funny experience. And, when we're on a race course and Kyle's eating all the space food that you eat and you're drinking Coca-Cola and all this stuff, he gets a little gassy out there on the race course. And when you're in the middle of suffering and your brother starts giggling and looks up at you to tell you that he's sorry that he's just broke wind, it breaks it up though, and it turns into this funny thing. I think sometimes he just says it to me to get me to calm down. Kyle, and we adopted a whale. We thought it was so funny. When we were kids, we adopted a whale called a Gassy. So that is something that has not gotten old for us.
Wow. All right. So Kyle, we're going to give you the opportunity to get him here. So tell us a funny story on your brother.
I think one of the funniest stories happened just this past weekend at the Public Half Marathon. We roomed together in the hotel, and I guess Brent had a phone call for one of our athletes, and he just kept talking for like 45 minutes, and I could not stop laughing. I just laughed. And it wasn't that funny, but then Brent started laughing, so we couldn't control it on the phone, so Brent actually had to hang up so that we could get our laughing out of the way. So, we don't really take ourselves too seriously. We love what we do. And I can think it's the brotherly bond and the brotherly laugh that really keeps us motivated and laughing.
Jim, it's my favorite part about doing races with Kyle is that it's that extra time we get to spend.
Yeah.
And, we didn't get to play on, basketball teams together in high school or football or any of that. So we never went to these tournaments and stayed in hotels together. And so when we go into this race, we're usually in a hotel room together. And when you're tired and you've been working out really long and doing hard things, everything's funny. So a kid calling to ask questions about where to be and what time, for whatever reason, Con, I just started laughing and got to the point that we couldn't stop laughing to where I had to say, I'll call you back, and then we sat there and we kept giggling for 5 more minutes about nothing. So, I mean, there's, being brothers, we've probably got stories that, unless you've got an explicit rating, we can't get into, but, we're just, we look forward to those moments because we know that there's going to be laughter and comedy between us about probably nothing.
That's what I love so much too about this story is you guys are genuine. I mean, you can really let your hair down and tell each other about breaking wind and just laugh about nothing. I mean, it's just that's what makes this thing special. And that's what like we call our show Rolling with Special Friends. You guys are very special. I mean, you qualify for every meaning of the word. And it's amazing just to know your story and to know how many people that you're out there touching. And now, Let's push this thing forward a little bit. What do we, Brent and Kyle, either one of you both give an answer? What do we see coming in the future for the foundation?
Well, for a time, we felt like, how do we move athletes beyond the finish? The title of our book was not an accident because Kyle's life has moved beyond the finish. He's got a job, he's got a college degree. He now works for the foundation as well. He does motivational speaking. He manages his own life with his caregivers and his family. And so when you see that, other athletes see that too, and Kyle becomes this beacon for them of what can life look like despite or even with a disability. And, so we thought about doing that. What we've learned during COVID when we couldn't do events is that what we do is really special. And the experience that we provide people is something that they look for, that connection. Forget the racing, forget the medals, the connection that they get to have, the connection that Kyle and I get to have is the experience. And so, for the next 5 years, we want to get really good. And we want to have 100+ families that we support every single year at all these races. And then once we have that critical mass, we'd like to come back to that idea of how do we move more athletes beyond the finish. We do currently have 3 athletes with disabilities working for the foundation, which includes Kyle, that are all serving the organization and helping us thrive as a business, as a nonprofit business. So we know that there's a way to do it, but right now we want to see how many finish lines we can cross and how many ways and paths to inclusion that we can create before we start moving beyond that finish line.
Right. All right, Kyle.
I can think it's really critical that we don't put labels on ourselves, that we continue to put the envelope for every athlete in their family that we serve. So it's really important to me to tell everyone's story and let their success shine. So, to continue to build what we have already built upon, but knowing that we have so much more that we want to accomplish as brothers and as a foundation family. So continue to share people's story and give them the confidence that anything is possible when you put your mind to it.
I love it. I mean, that's the best way I know about saying that. That is absolutely amazing. Now, I see on the website here as well, Brent, that you guys partner with existing nonprofit organizations. Tell us how you partner.
A lot of nonprofits that serve people with disabilities in a variety of ways, as you know, and as a lot of your listeners are probably aware, that there's lots of different ways to find the support mechanisms that you need. But a lot of them don't provide this athletic experience. And so it's going to these organizations and talking to them and educating them on what we do and how it is an inclusive and an enriching experience. So it's just going to those, Kyle's does a lot of those presentations. It's one of his jobs here. And what's more impactful than listening to a young man with a disability talk about his experiences and the organization that he founded to do that. So, we've partnered with hospitals, with other organizations. We do a camp for people with disabilities with another partner organization. So it's just seeking out those opportunities. It's not meant to take away from what they're doing. It's meant to enhance what they're doing for the people they serve. And it gives us an opportunity to increase as well. So lots of different organizations. And now that we've got Kyle here supporting and working for the organization, we hope to do a lot more of that in the coming years.
Okay. That sounds very good to me. Now, you guys know our signature series question here at Rolling with Special Friends has to do with if the world, were to see you guys go away tomorrow, what would you hope that people read in the book of your life? Like if we got a copy of it, Kyle, what would you hope people read about you?
That I advocated for others and I showed what they could do rather than what they can't do. And that I love to laugh, smile, and watch sports.
I love it. All right, Brent, how about you? What do you want us to read in your book?
I think just that we lived our life in service to others, that we constantly sought out ways for people to see what was possible and not to always think about the things that they couldn't do, but rather the things that they could. And I think has been no better illustrated than the story we told earlier. When you get a text from somebody, when you're on the precipice of one of your greatest personal achievements, to have them talk about how it's their experience too shows the way we've tried to honor that legacy and to bring people along on our journey and create their own.
Well, it couldn't be any better said to me that you guys have summed it all up by just looking into your lives. If my listeners out there take a minute and look into their website and be able to see what they're doing and how many athletes they're touching and how many, as they've already said, how many families they're bringing along on this Kyle Pease Foundation is unbelievable at the story. And they're just inspiring, each and every day more people that get to see and hear what they're doing. So you guys tell me one more time, Brent, tell us the website. How do we get to you?
It's KylePeaseFoundation.org, KylePease Foundation.org. And it's got everything, social media, website, photos. It's all there on the website.
And Kyle, tell us while we got you too now, if I want to donate, how do I donate?
You go to www.KylePeaseFoundation.org, and at the top, there's a button that says donate. And it's literally 5 minutes or less, and you can make a donation if you choose to.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Now, is and I want to ask you the same thing, Kyle. Is the book on the website or is it just Amazon?
Yeah, so you can get the book on Amazon, but we also have some on our website too. And we forgot to make it that the book is also available on audio as well for those listeners who choose to listen to audio, but the book is also available.
And is there any last one for you, Kyle? Is there anything that I can order of yours? Can I order T-shirts or hats of the Kyle Pease Foundation?
Absolutely. We have some pretty cool swag on the website.
Oh, that was the word I was looking for. I want some Kyle swag because I know now, I know a bunch of athletes out there sign gear and get it, sent to me. Can there's a way to get me a wristband that Brent sweated all over and he signs it, after a race?
I'll tell you what, I've got the perfect thing for you. When we, if we've got a little bit of time, when we got into the Ironman World Championships, there's not actually a way for Kana to get in. So we've literally got to find a way to get an invite or get in through a lottery. And we were doing a race and we got in. The story's much longer, but we got in. They surprised us at the finish line with a literal golden ticket. And from that race, we have the finisher hats. And I've got one left that Kana and I have both signed. So we'd love to send that to you. Wow. So that's the finisher hat that they put on us as they put the medal on that signified we were going to Hawaii. So we'd love to send that to you.
Man, that blows me away even thinking about that. That's pretty cool because I'm definitely, so you guys know it, I'm definitely a fan and I want to be one of those out there that virtually comes along and watches one of your next races and going to keep up with this as we going along. And I want to say first, thank you guys for coming today and being part of the show and letting people hear just part of your story. And then secondly, I hope that you guys will let us retouch base in a couple years here and find out how far along you've been and where the foundation's going.
We will love that opportunity, Jim, and thank you for sharing your story as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. And for everybody out there listening, make sure that you go check out their website to get the whole story and how to donate, as Kyle's told us. Also, as Kyle's told us, to be able to reach out and get some of his, game swag that he's been sweating on. He'll send you a T-shirt, sweating to Kyle, and maybe he's even going to come out with an exercise video one of these days since he loves his nutrition and getting out there being an athlete. So thank you all for tuning in and hope to get you guys next time.